You know, one of my
Hmm.
favorite things about being a social worker is the magic wand that they give us at graduation.
They do,
Um,
don't they?
all,
Yes.
all my fellow social workers out there are saying, "What?" I
You
think
didn't get
that's a thing
yours?
that you didn't get yours. That's the thing that people think we have a magic wand and we come in and we say, abracadabra, all your problems are solved. And listen, as a social worker, I
Mhm.
wish that I really did have that magic wand to say, here, let me fix everything for you. We don't have that yet. But what they teach us in social work school and what we work on in our continuing education throughout our career is staying up to date on the
Yeah.
latest and the greatest. And if I had even a penny for every time somebody said to me, so I have someone in my family who has Alzheimer's disease. I wish I had known that there was such a thing as the Alzheimer's Association or the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center or a million resources that I, as a social worker, am well aware of. I have phone numbers and websites memorized. If I had a penny for every time somebody said, I wish I had known, I
Yeah.
could pay for Alzheimer's to get cured if that's what it's going to
Hmm.
take. I
Hmm.
don't have a penny for every time someone has said that, but I would say lots of social workers know about resources that are available. So please take advantage of us. And all my fellow social workers don't cringe when I say that, but ask us for help. And fellow social workers, if we don't know, we find someone who does. I think that that's what we're probably the best at.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. So you say, I have a client or a patient or a neighbor or whatever it is who needs help. Who do you know in your circle that can answer this question? And because you're a social worker, you know somebody. Especially, I don't know if it's okay for me to say this, especially if you're a Black social worker,
That part.
you know
Hmm.
somebody who knows somebody
Hmm.
who knows somebody.
Hmm.
And so let's use our resources. We all now have access to Google, right?
Hmm.
When I was in social work school, Google was a different kind of thing than it is now. But we know how to find things. Think about all those papers you had to write for your practice class and your clinicals and all your training. You had to find the resource. So find those resources. They are out there. Do not be afraid to ask. You are not alone. If there is a problem, some social worker is working on it somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do not be afraid to ask because your friendly social worker knows. Even if your friendly neighborhood social worker is tired, even especially over these last 5 years, we've come out of or maybe we're still in a pandemic,
Mhm.
and every day there's something new to get ourselves worked up about. But we know how to find solutions. I mean, that's literally what our job is. They call us social workers not because we're out having parties, because we're not out having parties. They call us social workers because we are in society. We are here to help and we can get it done. The director of my organization says we are going to find the cure for Alzheimer's disease because people participate in clinical trials. And I do believe that that's true, but we are also going to find it because the social worker is looking for it.
That part.
We're going to
Yes.
find it.
I love on the social work piece.
So once again, I'm not that smart that I have, this brilliant answer of strategy and planning. But let me tell you, my family has been deeply impacted by social workers. And so that you can understand, my mother bore four children, of which
Hmm.
I am the youngest and the only boy. But I spent most of my childhood growing up as the middle child. Through the process of adoption, four sisters all older, four brothers all younger, and there were always a stranger, neighbor, cousin. So who do you think was working with us through these adoption
Yeah.
processes?
Yeah.
When my mother at some point became a caseworker, at Big Brother, Big Sister, who do you think she was working with many of the time with placements and things of this nature, helping folks in temporary. So you mentioned social workers are there on the scene. And even when it comes to Alzheimer's and dementia, you cannot get a diagnosis unless it's given by a professional who can do that. But it can be very challenging to get in to see certain specialists, a neurologist. So where does support, help, even affirmation come in within that 6 month period that you may have to guess who's likely to be on the ground at
Hmm.
your house, available in office, a social worker, right? And so it's important that you take a well-rounded approach to getting. So yes, we need the researchers, we need the scholars, we need the neurologists and our primary care physicians, but you also need the caseworkers and the social workers and all the other services that a social worker is going to refer you to, even the informal ones.
Hmm.
right? So you have to have that type of wraparound support. Again, I wish I could tell you in our strategy meetings we came up with it, but that's the way that it fell out. And you mentioned Kelly G. Loeb, who's at the University of Kansas Medical School, and she's a social worker to her heart. I met her at an event I was filming at. I wasn't even talking to her, but because she was ear hustling and heard we were talking about, she inserted herself. She'll tell you this. She inserted herself into that conversation, and even after post filming, we're still working with her on events because she's that committed. It's just who she is to help and to give to make someone else better. So no, our project is more complete, Mel, because we have social workers involved. Man, that almost sounds like a plug for commercial, doesn't it?
In an essence, I didn't live with my mom at that time, but my brother lived next door, and my aunt noticed some changes as well. And my brother, who visited mom from time to time, but would come in and stay from time to time, noticed some changes as well. So there was some subtle changes there, and then that led us up to having to go to the doctor, and it was some ugly things that this disease can uh it can really shake some things up to the core with your family if you're not prepared. I don't know how you can be prepared uh for um this life changing event or situation, but uh it can really present some challenges, and if you can't be prepared enough for it. I did go through challenges with my siblings. Um, we were not always on the same accord, so it does cause for risks if I'm just going to be honest about it, because
Mhm.
I do want people to know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It can cause separation. And if you're not strong enough or knowledgeable enough, um, it can tear some families apart. But I'm thankful to God, because I know that prayer
Mm,
does work, and it
mhm.
does make a difference. And so some of those challenges that I had with my siblings, things are getting better. Because I grew up during a time that my siblings didn't grow up. So I had experiences with mom that they didn't. They grew up at a different time than I did. So everybody has their different perspectives and their own different way of dealing with things. So I respect that. Some of that I might not have known then. All I see is this person who I love is changing before my eyes. All I know is this person that made so many sacrifices for our family, you know, is changing right before our eyes. So what are we going to do about it? And then when I have five other siblings.
Mhm.
So trying to get everybody on one accord, you have different personalities and different perspectives. So you have to take all that stuff into consideration when you're trying to come up with the best treatment plan, uh, for lack of better terms, for what our mother future looks like now.
Mhm.
It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice. It's going to take a lot of dedication. But those are the same things that she did for us. So we had our challenge. So, like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't say that, but I'm thankful and grateful for my siblings.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I'm thankful and grateful for the foundation that my mom laid for us to not fuss, to not fight. That was not allowed in our household. She would tell us, I had to be the mom and the dad here, so there's no fussing and fighting in this household. We're gonna kiss and make up,
Mm,
we doing things of that nature. So, but everybody was affected by this in their own way. So
mhm. I'm wondering, what does music do for you now, and how are you using it in your life?
Uh, I think the word is cathartic.
Hmm.
Am I using that right? Where it's
You
like
are.
a lot of times. So one of the things about uh, my brain up here, the gray matter, right, is that I've had like 7 or 8 concussions,
Hmm.
and so communication is a barrier. It's not, I don't have brain damage, per se, but I've had, some testing done and it's more impairment,
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so what ends up happening is that I have this huge amount of information, whether that be, feelings, thoughts, I don't know. It could be anything, right? Just
Hmm.
a lot of information. And then when it comes to getting it out, it's like a 12-lane highway of information going to like a foot trail in like
Mm.
a city park or something. And so it gets all clogged up and choked up, and it's like it just stops. It's like it just hits a wall. And what I've learned is that when I uh, when I pick up my horn,
Hmm.
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It comes out, and I'm able to get it out, and it doesn't have to. And the cool thing about it is that it's communicated. I can see it in the audiences. I can see it when I make eye contact. A lot of times I'll plan my. I mean, it's my eyes are closed, but there'll be times, where I'll have my eyes open and I'll lock eyes with, and I can tell they're with me. They're feeling. They're like my niece KK. She says, "I'm smelling what you're stepping in."
Yeah.
So it's so cathartic. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is I can say what I have to say without saying it.